Andrei Pushkar is one of the strongest arm wrestlers and also scariest arm wrestlers in history. He has an incredibly impressive track record. He has dominant wins on just about everyone, including John BRZENK, Dave Chafee, and Denis Cyplenkov. He is known for having a terrifying, explosive side pressure hit. Before Andrei would unleash all of his power in a split second, you could always see the violence in his eyes moments before it exploded onto his opponent's arm. There have been multiple pullers in history that may have had a faster hit than Andrei Pushkar, but I don't think anyone was ever able to match the intensity and the intimidation factor that Andrei brought to the table with his side pressure hit. Even if Andrei's opponents were completely hyped up and ready to go, they almost always hesitated just before the start. After all, who on earth would want to hit into the literal freight train that was Andrei Pushkar? This video will cover the rise of arm wrestling legend Andrei Pushkar. It will cover the moments when Andrei did things so impressive that no other arm wrestler was ever able to replicate them. And don't go away, because this video will contain footage of peak Andrei Pushkar that most people have never seen before. Maybe the first moment in Andrei's career where he completely shocked the world was against Alexei Voivoda in 2003. Keep in mind that this was the very same year when Alexei ran through Travis Bagent and John BRZENK, claiming the #1 rank in the world. In this match versus Alexei, we see Andrei's fighting spirit. Andrei is in a completely terrible position. He lost all hand control and doesn't really have the best shoulder position either. But he refuses to give up. He turns what should have been a textbook flash pin for Alexei into an all-out war. There are even moments where Andrei gets a pretty good degree of shoulder connection, and it looked like he might even be able to get a pin. But eventually, we see Alexei transition to an inside move and commit his own shoulder. Alexei is able to finish the match and get the win. But if there was any doubt that Andrei was the real deal, it had now been entirely erased. Andrei continued to progress and began to develop his vicious outside move. When Andrei top rolled, he would tuck his elbow slightly inside his body, as well as dipping his leading shoulder significantly. This would set him up perfectly for a massive side pressure hit, but it did leave his hand and wrist a little bit vulnerable. In 2007, we saw Andrei compete with John BRZENK, and in this match, we did see that Andrei's side pressure hit was amazing, but his hand and wrist were not yet at the level of John BRZENK. John takes full hand control and is able to defeat Andrei fairly comfortably, but this would not be the last time they faced each other. Also during this time, one of the most epic rivalries of the sport would begin. Denis Cyplenkov versus Andrei Pushkar ended up being the finals of just about every tournament. They also had several super matches over the span of their careers. Andrei had the faster hit as well as having the more refined technique, but Denis was just too strong. Andrei would hit to the side, taking Denis's hand in the process. But in doing this, Andrei would also lose his own hand. From here, Denis's superior arm power and superior endurance would start to take over. And this is pretty much what we saw over and over again throughout this rivalry. Denis and Andrei's matches were normally all-out wars and also very awkward looking matches. But Andrei just couldn't quite seem to come out on top. He was right there, but Denis was just too big, too strong, and had too much stamina. But this was all different in 2014. In 2014, Andrei just ran through everyone like nothing. A ton of people have seen the 2014 left-handed finals of the A1 Russian Open. Once again, we see Denis Cyplenkov versus Andrei Pushkar. It turns into an all-out war and is a fantastic match. But as expected, Denis ends up coming out on top. But what about the right-handed finals? For some reason, most of the right-handed footage from this tournament is very difficult to find on YouTube. So a lot of people don't even know that Andrei Pushkar won this tournament, becoming the #1 right-handed arm wrestler in the world. And not only did he win, but he completely crushed everyone. In this tournament, we see Andrei go up against John BRZENK. In the past, Andrei was unable to defeat John, but this time was different. What Andrei did to John BRZENK was jaw-dropping. He beat him multiple times, first not even allowing him to slip, and after this, he flash pinned him in the blink of an eye. Pretty much nobody does this to John BRZENK, but Andrei Pushkar did. Andrei also went up against Uncle Todd in this tournament and once again flash pinned him like nothing. After this, Andre went up against Denis Cyplenkov for the #1 rank in the world right-handed. Beating Denis in any fashion is absolutely ridiculous, but to flash pin him multiple times, and in the match that decided the #1 rank, this moment was just insane. I don't think I've seen anyone defeat Denis in this manner. Andre made history this day. Now, to be fair to Denis, this was the same tournament in which Denis had a war with Dave Chaffee. Some may say that Andre had an easier bracket than Denis did, but this is simply the nature of tournament arm wrestling. Someone will always have an easier bracket than someone else, and you can't take anything away from either puller. So Andre had officially claimed the #1 spot in the world, but in 2015, he had to defend his title at the next A1 Open. Maybe 2014 was a fluke. After all, Andre did not have to pull Dave Chaffee in 2014. Andre was the favorite to win this tournament, but he was still going to be tested. But in this case, Andre passed the test with flying colors. He completely ran over everyone again. And this time, he pulled BRZENK and Dave Chaffee. When Andre pulled both of these guys, they really just looked confused. Andre was so fast, so powerful, and so explosive. Nobody was even able to access their power. By the time people started applying pressure into the match, Andre had already pushed their arm through the tabletop. Complete and utter domination from Andre. We also got to see Andre go up against Richard Lubkes in 2015. In the past, Richard had had wars with Denis Cyplenkov and was an absolute unit, but Andre Pushkar toyed with Richard Lubkes. In this match, we see flashpin after flashpin. Richard just can't do anything to Andre. We even see Andre allow Richard into his power and he still can't do anything. Richard is completely laying on his own arm and Andre is just holding him. This is one of those matches where Andre was so many levels above the competition that he almost looked bored. Andre would continue to defend his title. In 2015, he had a super match versus Michael Todd. This was one of Andre's biggest tests because Michael is a terrible style match for Andre. Andre is known for his incredible explosivity and his side pressure hit, but his hand sometimes got exposed in the past. Andre is also not known for his endurance, and this was a 6-round super match, meaning that Andre would have to pin Michael 4 times without gassing out. Michael is an endurance specialist who historically has done very well against arm wrestlers who like to drag and go sideways. Despite the style matchup, Andre was able to grind it out and gets the win 4-2. But shortly after this, a major tragedy occurred. Andre was involved in a terrible car crash and ended up passing away due to his injuries. This was one of the most shocking and saddest moments in arm wrestling history, and Andre's death was especially tragic as he was only 33 years old when he passed. Andre had so much more to give, not only in arm wrestling, but in areas of life that are far more important. Andre certainly was taken too soon. But even in the short time that Andre had, he accomplished more in the world of arm wrestling than most pullers could ever dream of. He held the #1 rank in the world for multiple years in a row. He flash pinned BRZENK, Dave Chaffee, and Denis Cyplenkov multiple times, and the reality is, he never actually lost his title. Andre passed away holding the #1 rank in the world, which is something I don't think anyone else has ever done. Andre Pushkar was certainly one of a kind. I don't think that anyone will ever be able to replicate what he did in the sport of arm wrestling. The level he reached motivated so many to give their 100% effort on the table. Andre Pushkar truly was a legend.